Africa has some pretty strange animals that you should definitely stay away from. I mean, the bush viper might look extremely pretty and friendly, but they're not. You should never get close to one or even touch it. Bush vipers are venomous snakes found in tropical sub-Saharan Africa. Adult sizes range from 16 inches to 31 inches, and they are covered in scales and come in a variety of colors. But these colors can change throughout the snake's lifespan. They spend most of their time in trees rather than on the ground, which is promising. Now, they actually prefer living alone, and it's been discovered if you keep these snakes together in a zoo, they will eat each other. For the hunt, the bush viper uses 2 hollow front fangs, and when they bite, prey gets injected with a hemotoxic venom that cripples its defenses. Now, with a weight of between 4 to 8 pounds, the snakes are extremely quick and capable of taking out prey in milliseconds after remaining still for long periods. Though beautiful, a bite from a bush viper can be fatal. So if you see one of these, just leave it alone because there's not an antivenom. The giraffe-necked weevil is a type of bug, and I mean its name speaks for itself as its neck is very long like a giraffe's. Now, these bugs were discovered in 1860 in Madagascar, which is the only place that they can be found. Giraffe-necked weevils can grow up to a maximum of 25 millimeters, and the body is black while their wings are a bright red or orange color. This serves as warning coloration to scare predators off. You can easily tell the difference of males and females as the male has a distinctly longer neck, which makes almost half of its total length. In mating season, males fight for single females by beating their necks at each other and trying to bump the opponent from the leaf. Now, the successful winner is then allowed to mate the courted female, which I think is funny. Now, the good thing is though that giraffe weevils cannot bite or sting, and therefore are not dangerous to humans. But still, that's one bug I wouldn't want around me. Now, the animal called the elephant shrew is a little misleading because it's actually one of the smallest animals. They're called an elephant shrew because they have distinctive trunk-like noses that help them eat insects like ants, millipedes, termites, and worms. They have large eyes and ears, and a keen sense of vision and hearing. Their tails are lined with knobbed bristles, which may be used like swabs to spread their scent. Now, they're so tiny and cute, but honestly, I'd be scared of accidentally stepping on one. Now, they generally live in couples and are mostly found in the Democratic Republic of Congo, but sadly, their population is rapidly declining due to deforestation and lack of access to food because of drought, fire, land division, and deforestation. Now, the eye are very ugly creatures. Now, if you get bad vibes from looking at it, you're not the only one, as many locals consider the eye to be an omen of bad luck. Spanning only around 15 inches in length, disproportionately large eyes give it the look of being constantly surprised. They have huge ears that they use to listen out for both prey and predators throughout the night, but the most intriguing thing though about this is its middle finger. It uses this extremely long, thin finger to tap the bark of trees to discover grubs to eat inside the tree. Now, their populations have been decreasing for a number of years, and a large contributing factor to this is local superstition. Right now, they are protected by law because the population is dwindling so much, but a common piece of folklore states that if an eye touches you with its middle finger, you're condemned to intimate death. Now, honestly, I believe it. These animals are found exclusively in the rainforests of Madagascar, and these elusive creatures spend their days huddled in nests, leaving only in the evening and never coming down to ground level. But yeah, I would not want to get close to this animal at all.
From colonial creatures the size of a whale to freaky animals with absurd adaptations, these terrifying creatures can't be from this planet. First is the Sloane's viperfish. This thing just doesn't look real. In fact, I refuse to think it's real because how in the world does something so funky and freaky even exist? Well, the natural world is full of wonders and horrors, and this seems to be one of the latter. First discovered in 1801, these elongated deep-sea fish are highly effective predators in the deep. They use their large fangs to spear equally large prey before swallowing them whole. They also have photophores that produce light, seemingly for both camouflage and for defense. Scientists are so silly, because in the same paragraph that I learned about dense and complex studies on their feeding habits, I also found out that scientists just started squeezing the tail of the fish and discovered that that induced a 5 to 10 second long flashbang of lights. So apparently, viperfish don't like having their tails grabbed. Next is the giant siphonophore. The giant siphonophore is an absolutely crazy organism, and it would be considered one of the largest on Earth if it weren't for the fact that it isn't one organism. It's actually a colonial organism made up of dozens or hundreds of individual zooids. Zooids aren't quite their own animal, as they share genetics and only change how those genes are expressed in each zooid. They also can't survive without the full colony, and yet they're not individual cells. The siphonophore can grow to incredible lengths, some reaching even beyond 150 feet, but that all changes if they're brought to the surface. Siphonophores rely on water pressure to keep their entire structure together and will literally disintegrate if brought above the surface. Though I suspect if you took a human and dropped our ambient pressure by several hundred times, we probably wouldn't like it that much either. Giant siphonophores also hunt in a similar way to jellies, but cover a much wider area with their thousands of tentacles. Next is the fried egg jelly. I know how hungry you are, but please believe me when I say this is not a sentient egg trying to swim onto your plate. Don't eat it. Because this is a jellyfish, and like most jellies, it has thousands of stinging nematocysts on its tentacles. Even more unique is the egg jelly's prey. Instead of preying on fish like most jellies, the egg jelly hunts other jellyfish. They also have a close relationship with larval crabs, which dwell inside the jelly and help to clean it of other parasites. That is, until the crabs grow up and they start eating the jelly itself. Personally, that sounds like bad business. I would never eat my apartment, but you do you. Next is the axolotl. The axolotl is an incredibly unique and critically endangered species of salamander. It's highly unique in a lot of ways, one being it has both gills, those distinct frilly appendages on its cheeks, and lungs inside its body, allowing the axolotl to survive in almost any body of water regardless of oxygen content. They're also only found in a single location on the entire planet, Lake Xochimilco, which contains all 1,000 wild axolotls. They can also famously regrow almost any lost body part, from limbs to even critical organs. This ability is being studied closely for medical research. They also, despite not having any teeth, hunt a wide variety of prey, including crustaceans. What they lack in dentition, they make up for with incredible suction power and crushing jaws. Next is the ribbon sawtail. The ribbon sawtail fish is one of the freakiest and most alien-looking fish I've ever seen, but it fits well in the deep sea. As a species of dragonfish, the ribbon sawtail has a bioluminescent lure that it uses to draw in prey. Having seen other deep-sea fish, the ribbon sawtail may not seem too wild, but one look at its full size and I'm sure you'll agree that there's no way that thing's natural. Halfway between an eel, a lumber saw, and a xenomorph, it even looks unholy. Want to hear an even more unsettling fact? Ribbon sawtail fish don't have solid spines, because if they did, when they swallowed a large meal, it would snap. So instead, their spine is flexible and made of tendons instead of bone, which allows it to actually bulge outwards when eating a large meal. Gross. And finally, the feather star. The feather starfish is so incredibly weird that I can really only view it as an alien. They aren't actual starfish, instead being in the class of crinoids. They use their feathery appendages to filter feed the water around them, but also, in very rare instances, they use them as so many wings, flying gracefully through the water to find a new home. They are one of the only animals on Earth that moves in this fashion, which only encourages me to think of them as aliens.
There are a lot of weird sea creatures out there that we never knew about before, like the pink see-through Fantasia, which is a type of sea cucumber. Now it has a completely transparent body, you can see everything, even the entire digestive system. The Fantasia was discovered in 2007 as part of the Census of Marine Life. This decade-long project sent 2,700 researchers from 80 countries on more than 500 expeditions to all the world's oceans. Now the scientists used robotic submarines and other equipment to seek forms of life that no one had ever seen before, and they found this creature. Now it was found at a depth of about 1.5 miles. The Fantasia feeds by filtering nutrients from sediments on the bottom, and while most sea cucumbers stay on the ocean floor, This one can swim. It uses a wing-like collar around its mouth to swim up into the water. Now it may use that ability to move to new feeding grounds or to escape danger. There's currently little concrete information available about the potential size of the pink see-through Fantasia, but researchers assume that it is similar in size to related species, which range from 4.3 to 9.8 inches. While its outer skin is translucent, it has a bright pinkish hue, which is how it earned its common name. Additionally, like other deep-sea animals, the Fantasia can produce bioluminescence that illuminates its inner organs. Now this may scare away possible predators, which might not want to see the insides of their next meal. Now, Dumbo octopus are known as the deepest living of all octopus species. They live on the sea floor or hover slightly just above it at depths of 9,800 to 13,000 feet. It gets its name due to the ear fins coming out of the top of its head, looking exactly like the Disney character Dumbo the elephant. Now, there are about 17 species of Dumbo octopus that belong to a group called umbrella octopus because they are able to float with an umbrella-like look to their mantle. Some Dumbos are short, squat, and yellow, while others resemble a sea jelly with one giant brown walking shoe. Now some have suckers in addition to spines on their webbed tentacles, while others look more like a traditional octopus with the addition of blue or other colored ears. Now most species are 7.9 to 12 inches in length, but the largest Dumbo octopus was 6 feet and 32 inches in length and weighed 13 pounds. Little is known about the Dumbo octopus, and they have not been evaluated for population status, but let me just say, these creatures are pretty cool. Now, blobfish are named one of the ugliest sea creatures to ever exist, and I mean, just look at it, it's true. Now, blobfish are typically shorter than 12 inches and live at depths between 2,000 and 3,900 feet, where the pressure is 60 to 120 times greater than that at sea level. Now, these tadpole-shaped fish have bulbous heads, large jaws, tapered tails, and feathery pectoral fins. Now, rather than scales, they have loose, flabby skin, and they don't have strong bones or thick muscles, and instead they rely on the water pressure to hold up their shape together. That's why blobfish collapse into squishy mush when they are pulled up to the surface. It pretty much looks like a normal fish when it's in its natural habitat, but little is known about the behavior of blobfish because it is so difficult to view them in their natural habitat at the bottom of the ocean floor. But it is believed that they prefer to be at rest and can go days without eating to conserve energy. Groups like the Ugly Animal Preservation Society aim to raise awareness of the needs to protect blobfish, along with other aesthetically challenged creatures, which are less likely to be researched or protected than their cuter counterpart, which is just sad. Just because they're ugly doesn't mean we shouldn't care about them. Then there's lionfish, who prefer to inhabit shallower waters less than 500 feet in depth. Now, some species linger around rocky coastlines or seek harbor in lagoons. Others, like the Bermuda Triangle. With no known predators, the lionfish consumes vast quantities of invertebrates, mollusks, and small fish. Now, the lionfish's venomous dorsal, anal, and pelvic spines deter most potential predators. Now, they aren't aggressive, but their spines contain a nasty neuromuscular toxin. Symptoms following a lionfish sting include tenderness, swelling, and a serious injury to the wound site. These symptoms usually last for hours, but in severe cases can go on for up to 30 days. Now, a sting that involves multiple spines increases the possibility of infection and causes additional symptoms, such as abdominal pain, sweating, and changes in the heart rate. Lionfish stings are rarely fatal, although someone who's been exposed to repeated stings may experience anaphylactic reactions upon subsequent envenomation. Yeah, I would stay away from those. And finally, the Kraken was a legendary sea monster, but what if I told you it was real? The body of a giant squid was found on a shore in Denmark in 1853, and then in 2001 humans saw the giant squid for the first time, and only a few years after that when it was finally photographed, making it one of the most elusive animals on the planet. Now, we don't know too much about about this creature, but we do know it has the largest eyes of all living creatures, grows up to 60 feet, and is frequently hunted by sperm whales for food. Now, the weaker giant squid generally flees when confronted by a whale, however, sometimes it fights back when cornered, and it's not unusual to find sperm whales with scars left from their battles with giant squids. Now, the giant squid has long been known to exist, but capturing it on film has taken scientists extensive time and voyages to the deepest parts of the ocean where life is hard to sustain, but it does exist, and it is scary. Well, that's all for our list of unsettling creatures found in the Bermuda Triangle that scientists have never seen before. Now, I think these creatures should stay deep underwater.
Want to see more videos like this one? Check out this video next. It's about discoveries in Antarctica that left scientists terrified. These are real stories about the remarkable events that happened in one of the most isolated places on the planet. Click the video now. What are you waiting for?